color are you getting? 32.
The ID or authorization code you have entered.
You look like a suspect. There's no way after 7 hours of wearing this.
So every time you dial that, every time you dial it does this long beep. Passcode you entered, but there's no author, there's no person. Yeah, we should get a person. 960.
Oh, is it password?
Yeah, it beeps and disconnects. Yeah, it says the passcode you entered is not correct and hangs up.
The ID or authorization code you have entered is not valid.
And there it is. So 1877413 4813. Yeah, so try that.
Welcome to the government teleconferencing service. Bienvenue au service gouvernemental de téléconférence. For service in English, press 1. Please hold, an operator will be with you shortly. Thank you very much for waiting. Which conference have you attended, please?
604-7516.
Thank you, and I have your name, please.
Jean Turner.
You said Jean?
Jean, Jean Turner, Turner, RCMP.
Are you a guest speaker to this conference?
I'm a facilitator.
Yeah, I think we're good.
Thank you. Yes.
Thanks.
My name is Recta. I'm the agent assisting on this conference. Is Mrs. Jennings with you at your location?
She is here, not available at the moment.
Thank you, but you will be using the same line as yours.
Yes.
Not
Yes.
using a different line, correct?
That's correct.
Thank you. One moment, please.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Speak to you in a couple of seconds.
Perfect.
So thank you very much for waiting, Ms. Turner. I repeat my name, Recta. I'm the agent assisting on the conference today. May I review a few details with you before we begin?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Other
like this.
than, Mrs.
1 2 1 2 1 2. We just want to make sure that this is going back to our Kingston station, everybody. Yeah.
Yes.
Using a different connection.
Okay,
or at your
cool. I
location?
appreciate that.
All at this location.
All at this line.
Perfect. Do you wish to validate the sound quality of the guest speakers at your location? Over the speaking?
Yes, please. We're gonna sort of pass it over to the microphone now.
Test, test, test.
Is that going to be the name or is this going
There's
to
a
be?
lot of background noise.
The
I'm
main.
having difficulty in hearing. I did hear test, test, test.
Yes,
I was faint.
we have many reporters on site, so that's the background noise.
Yeah, go right ahead.
But if you could
Thank
hear
you very much.
And I'm going to check the other location.
Thank you.
I'm going to check another location.
Thank you very much. I don't have any introduction. Is that still relevant for this conference?
that's fine. We're, as long as they can hear what's going on in this room,
Perfect. I
that's
do confirm the call is being recorded.
okay. Perfect,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
And whenever you're ready to take questions from the phone line, please turn the meeting back over to my attention by mentioning my name, Recta, operator. At that time, I will provide instructions how to queue up and ask a question. Should there be any questionnaires, I'm introducing them by name and affiliation and returning the meeting back over to your attention, or to the attention of Mrs. Diane Jennings for closing statement, or to your attention, Ms. Turner.
Jean Turner, fine.
Perfect, thank you. Do you wish to do more valid sound checking?
No, we're good, thank you.
Perfect. So I now have the time, I'm about 50 seconds prior to the start time. Will you be ready to begin, or would you prefer to wait a few more minutes?
I think there's no harm in opening up the phone line and just having the people listening. That's fine. We still may be a couple minutes, but there's no harm in opening up the line still.
Well, I found by experience that if we don't have background noise and we remove the music, participants in the musical hall, some of them do disconnect. As long as you make noise.
Yeah, exactly. Perfect.
As long as you make noise. Ms. Turner, also, I wanted to mention that this conference is being recorded.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. So you wish to be joining immediately?
Yes, please.
Thank you. So you'll hear music briefly. Once you no longer hear the music, you know you're live. You may start your presentation at your discretion whenever you wish. Otherwise, I'll be there listening on all the time.
Perfect, thank you, Rita.
Pleasure. This conference is being recorded.
Good afternoon. Do I have people on the line?
I am on the line.
Okay, this is Jean Turner, RCMP Media Relations, on site at Kingston. Just wanting to let you know that our briefing is just about to begin, so you can remain on the line and listen to that.
Please welcome Chief Superintendent Michael Lesage, Criminal Operations Officer, RCMP O Division, who will provide a briefing on the events that occurred today. Veuillez recueillir Surintendant Principal Michael Lesage.
I do apologize for the interruption. This is the conferencing agent. The last comment made was inaudible. We are sorry. We did not understand what was said. After Ms. Turner spoke, there's another person that spoke, and that comment we did not understand.
Did you want the English and the French, or did you just want French?
Did you hear that, Retta?
No, I'm afraid not. I just said English or French or...
What did you...
What did you not hear? Sorry.
Okay, I'm hearing you better now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Please welcome Chief Superintendent Michael Lesage. Veuillez recueillir Surintendant Principal Michael Lesage.
Let me begin by thanking everyone for their cooperation and patience yesterday during the significant police presence in your community. I want to assure you that there is no threat to the public safety at this time, and we took every possible measure to mitigate any potential threat at the time of arrest. Yesterday's operation was conducted in a manner to protect citizens and police. I acknowledge that there has been a delay in communicating with the public on the nature of the threat and the arrests. It is imperative that we follow the appropriate judicial processes, engage with the community, and ultimately ensure the integrity of the investigation. I am now in a position to confirm a few details with you. Earlier today, the RCMP charged one young person with the following criminal code offenses: knowingly facilitating a terrorist activity, contrary to section 83.19 of the criminal code, and counseling a person to deliver, place, discharge, or detonate an explosive with the intent to cause death or serious bodily injury, contrary to section 431.2 of the criminal code, which offense was not committed and did thereby commit an offense contrary to section 464A of the criminal code. No further details will be provided due to the age of the individual. A second individual, an adult male, has also been arrested. To give some background, the RCMP received credible information of a potential terrorist threat in late December 2018. We immediately started a robust national security criminal investigation, and the RCMP was able to gather sufficient evidence for the Attorney General to approve laying Section 83.19 charges against the individual. As I alluded earlier, we are mindful of the impacts that the arrests have on the community. I would also like to once again assure you the RCMP immediately took the necessary steps to ensure public safety. While these are significant charges, there was no imminent threat to the public or to infrastructure. Many of you may have wondered about the airplane reported over Kingston recently. We can confirm that RCMP air assets were involved in this investigation. Investigations of this nature are extremely complex and resource intensive, as the RCMP must balance the collection of evidence with maintaining public safety. I can confirm at this time that the RCMP has required over 300 resources to support this investigation. Investigations of this nature require extensive cooperation and collaboration with our domestic and international partners. I would like to acknowledge our partners in this investigation, notably the Federal Bureau of Investigation, whose continued collaboration with the RCMP on operational files such as these contribute to the safe and secure border. Here in Canada, I'd like to emphasize and support and thank also the Kingston Police, Ontario Provincial Police, Canadian Border Services Agency, Canadian Security Intelligence Services, Financial Transactions and Reports Analysis Centre of Canada. We also encourage the public to remain vigilant and to report any information or terrorism or related suspicious activities to the National Security Information Network at 1-800-420-5805 or by contacting the police in their community.
Permettez-moi d'abord de vous remercier de tous pour votre coopération et pour la patience dont vous avez fait preuve hier avec l'importante présence policière dans votre collectivité. Je veux vous assurer qu'il n'y a aucune menace pour la sécurité publique en ce moment et que nous avons pris toutes les mesures possibles pour atténuer les éventuelles menaces au moment de l'arrestation. L'opération hier a été menée de manière à protéger les citoyens et les policiers. Je reconnais que la population a dû attendre avant d'en apprendre plus sur la nature des menaces et sur les arrestations. Nous avons le devoir de respecter les procédures judiciaires, de mobiliser la collectivité et en définitive de protéger l'intégrité de l'enquête. Je suis maintenant en mesure de vous donner quelques précisions. Plus tôt aujourd'hui, la GRC a porté des accusations suivantes à l'encontre d'une personne mineure. Avoir ciment facilité une activité terroriste, l'infraction prévue à l'article 83.19 du Code criminel. Avoir conseillé à une personne de livrer, poser, faire exploser ou détourner un engin explosif dans l'intention de provoquer la mort ou des dommages corporels graves, l'infraction prévue au paragraphe 431.2,2 du Code criminel. L'infraction qui n'a pas été commise, donc coupable d'une infraction prévue à l'article 464A du Code criminel. Étant donné l'âge de l'individu, aucun autre détail ne sera diffusé. Un deuxième individu, un homme adulte, a aussi été arrêté. L'enquête est en cours. Pour mettre les choses en contexte, je peux vous dire que la GRC a reçu à la fin de décembre 2018 des renseignements crédibles sur une possible menace terroriste. Nous avons immédiatement entrepris une rigoureuse enquête de la sécurité nationale et avons recueilli une preuve suffisante pour que le procureur général approuve le dépôt d'accusation en application de l'article 83.19 contre l'individu. Comme je l'ai dit plus tôt, nous sommes conscients de l'effet que de telles arrestations peuvent avoir sur la collectivité. Je tiens à vous rassurer qu'une fois de plus, que la GRC a pris sans tarder les mesures nécessaires pour assurer la sécurité de la population. Même si les accusations sont importantes, aucune menace imminente n'a été posée à la population ou aux infrastructures. Beaucoup se sont interrogés sur la présence d'un avion dans le ciel de Kingston ces derniers jours. Nous pouvons confirmer que la GRC a eu recours à des appareils aéroportés dans cette enquête. Les enquêtes de cette nature sont extrêmement complexes et requièrent beaucoup de ressources. La GRC doit recueillir de la preuve sans compromettre la sécurité publique. Je peux confirmer qu'à ce jour, la GRC a mobilisé plus de 300 ressources en appui à cette enquête. De telles enquêtes nécessitent une coopération et une collaboration étendue avec des partenaires nationaux et internationaux. J'aimerais saluer nos partenaires dans cette enquête, notamment le Federal Bureau of Investigation, dont la collaboration continue sur des fichiers opérationnels comme celui-ci nous aide à assurer une frontière sécuritaire et sécurisée. Ici au Canada, nous aimerons souligner le soutien des organismes suivants: la police de Kingston, police provinciale de l'Ontario, Agence des services frontaliers du Canada, Service canadien de renseignement et sécurité, Centre d'analyse des reparations et déclarations financières du Canada. Nous encourageons les citoyens à rester vigilants et à signaler toute activité suspecte à leur service de police ou au réseau Infosécurité nationale en composant le 1-800-420-5805. Nous répondrons maintenant à quelques questions de journalistes. Questions now.
Were there any, Tom Harris from CBC, were there any explosives? Did you find any explosives?
The individual was reported to be involved in the manufacturing of homemade improvised explosive devices, and that was one of the subjects of our investigation.
Did you find any?
There were elements and trace elements, but I'm not prepared to speak on that with regards to the ongoing investigation.
When you say elements and trace elements, these are elements that could have been turned into an explosive?
There may have been precursor elements, yes.
Is that determined that you found that in one of the homes?
Yes.
Which one?
I can't comment on that.
Sorry, David Cochran with CBC. Can you explain to us why the 20-year-old has been arrested but not charged?
The investigation remains ongoing. So the individual is arrested as part of the active investigation, but as the investigation remains ongoing, we were not prepared to charge at this time.
Is there a deadline or a timeline by which you must decide to charge or release? Can you give us a tick-tock on that?
There is a deadline for release, but there is no deadline on the decision to charge in an ongoing investigation.
So what is the deadline for release in this circumstance?
The release would be coming up within 24 hours of the arrest date.
Right, so like is that 6 o'clock tonight? Is that, can you tell us the time? Is what I'm asking for.
So today's judicial process I can't comment on. I wasn't there to view it, but 24 hours is the retention.
Michael Couture from Global National, sorry, just back here. Because these are terrorism-related charges, can you give us any insight as to whether or not he was in contact or inspired by any terrorist organization?
No, I cannot comment on that, I'm sorry.
So then why did you feel confident to be able to lay those charges?
Through the course of the investigation and the evidence that we collected, public safety is at the forefront of what we do. And I should add that at no time was the city of Kingston or any Canadian area under direct threat. But through the collection of evidence, we accumulated sufficient amount of evidence to move forward with the charges.
And can I just ask about the FBI involvement? Was this a cross-border tip that helped zero in on these two individuals?
In December of 2018, we did receive credible FBI information regarding an attack plot with no specific time, date, or location affixed to it, but it was an FBI-led investigation from that point. Excuse me, it was an FBI information at that point.
Were you able to identify any specific timeline or target through the course of this investigation, or is it still they were planning something but no specific target had been identified?
There was no specific target identified. There was an attack plan, which is what led to our disruption yesterday.
Did the attention your plane got, did that accelerate the timing of this operation yesterday? Once people realized that was a Mountie plane flying around and it made it into the news, did that cause you to move?
No, it did not. The plane operations for the RCMP are used for a number of situations, from prisoner transport to any number of other investigative requirements.
Jim Bronfield, the Canadian Press. There were also reports of planes in Nova Scotia, RCMP activity there, northern Nova Scotia. Is there another province involved in this, or perhaps further arrests?
That information is unrelated to this investigation.
From Canada. I don't know if you can answer this in French, but can you tell us, he was trying to convince someone to use that bomb. So was it the man 20 years old? Was it somebody else? Can we say who he was trying to convince?
No, I'm sorry, I can't comment on that.
Fraser Snowden with Global News Kingston. Can you tell us if this is related at all to the number of lockdowns that happened at the schools here in Kingston last year in December?
I am aware of that, but it is a completely unrelated situation.
Are they Canadian citizens?
I cannot comment on that.
Secretary Kingston was saying, had they been living in Kingston for a period of time?
They are residents of Kingston. In terms of how long they've been living here, I don't have specifics on that.
How did the FBI find out about this?
I can't really discuss some of the sensitivities surrounding the way the information is procured by our federal enforcement partner in the U.S. However, when the information is provided to the RCMP, it's provided as credible information, and that's what we act on.
Was it online communication? Was it?
I can't comment on that right now.
Can I just ask, what happened in the last few days that went from watching these two individuals to moving in on them with such force?
So it was a very collaborative process. There was, as you heard, a number of police and security agencies involved with this. The decision to arrest was not one because we have met any kind of threat to public safety. At no time was there a threat to public safety. The decision to arrest was made strictly on the collection of evidence and accumulating a substantial amount of evidence that allowed us to charge. No further need to pursue the investigation at that time.
Can you quantify for us, when you said there were elements of bomb-making materials, can you paint us a bit of a picture for people at home who are trying to figure out what that means?
So I can't really comment on that. That's part of the investigative process and the evidence that we're working with right now. Suffice to say that the elements that were discovered were sufficient to allow us to frame the arrest and the criminal charges.
Est-ce que vous parlez français? Est-ce qu'on peut avoir une explication en français de ce que vous avez trouvé à l'intérieur de ces maisons? Vous parlez d'explosifs ou de traces potentielles explosifs. Expliquez-nous un peu ce que vous avez.
On ne peut pas répondre à cette question en ce moment, ça fait partie de l'enquête.
Mais en anglais, il explique que ce sont des éléments qui auraient pu mener à la création des explosifs. Est-ce que vous pouvez expliquer ça?
Okay. Il va dire en anglais et je vais essayer de le traduire.
The specifics of the elements I can't comment on, but there were elements that allowed us to advance our investigative theory, which led to the criminal charges.
You spoke of a
Oh,
plot.
I gotta translate. Okay, I'm sorry, sir. Can you just say that again for me?
The elements that have been uncovered in the course of our investigation allowed us to advance our investigative theory, which led us to the arrest and criminal charges.
Les éléments qu'ils ont trouvés donnaient la preuve qu'il peut continuer avec l'enquête.
Ian Austin, the New York Times. Are any other law enforcement agencies in other countries investigating possible suspects in connection with this? And the original tip from the FBI, does that suggest that there was going to be activity in the United States, or was that not defined?
That was not defined to us, and there is no other countries involved in the elements of our investigation.
Are any other Canadians under investigation?
I can't comment on that right now.
Mark Hardistle from Global Toronto. Was anything detonated yesterday at either of the scenes? We hear that there might have been one at one of the scenes where there was a detonation done by police.
There was an evacuation of a residence yesterday in the early morning, or excuse me, in the early morning today. There was an element that was located, believed to be an explosive substance. Collectively, with the assistance of the Kingston Police Service Critical Incident Command and our explosive disposal unit, we did remove that substance from the residence, and we did detonate that substance. It was neutralized and rendered inert.
And I just want to clarify, in terms of the custody for the man in his 20s, he's still currently in custody?
I don't have the most recent update on the judicial process today.
Okay, I think we'll turn our attention now to the phones. Do we have any questions from the phones?
Thank you. Merci. We will now take questions from the telephone lines. Nous allons maintenant passer à la période de questions. Si vous utilisez un téléphone mobile, s'il vous plaît, soulevez le combiné avant d'effectuer votre sélection. If you're using a speakerphone, please pick up your handset before making your selection. If you have a question, please press star 1 on your telephone keypad. Si vous désirez poser une question, veuillez s'il vous plaît appuyer sur les touches étoile 1 de votre téléphone à clavier. You may cancel your question by pressing pressing the pound sign. Vous pouvez à tout moment annuler votre question en appuyant sur le dièse. Please press star 1 at this time if you have a question. Merci d'appuyer sur étoile 1 pour toute question. There will be a brief pause while the participant register for questions. Non, un peu de délai, vous permettant de vous enregistrer dans la file d'attente pour la période de questions. Thank you for your patience. Merci de patienter. The first question is from Nick Cyrus of the National Post. La parole est à vous. Please go ahead.
I was wondering what type of plane was used in the investigation and what role did it play? Like what type of intel were you able to gain through aerial surveillance?
The airplane was one of our Pilatus aircraft, one of a number in our fleet. It's used for any number of resource purposes. In this case, I can say that it was used for the preservation of public safety and risk mitigation strategies in the area of Kingston.
Can you explain what that means? What does that mean?
The risk mitigation and public. So the aerial support of the plane allows us surveillance capabilities from the air to ensure that we are able to maintain public safety and mitigate risk surrounding certain addresses, areas of concern.
Okay, back to the phones.
Thank you. Once again, please press star 1 on your telephone keypad if you have a question. De nouveau, n'hésitez pas à appuyer sur l'étoile 1 pour toute question. The next question, la question suivante, is from Charlie Pickerton of iPolitics. La parole est à vous. Whoops, and sorry, I released Mr. Pickerton's line. It was playing music. The next question is from Adrian Humphreys of the National Post. Please proceed.
What connection can you tell us about the between the two individuals involved in your arrests?
Both individuals are residents of Kingston. They have been part of the investigation throughout the course of its duration, and both were arrested simultaneously under the same reasonable and probable grounds.
But what about connections between the two of them? What links them to? Did they have communications? What was their connection between them?
Unfortunately, I can't speak to the specifics of the communications or the relationship between the two, except to say that the two do travel in the company one with the other, and I can only comment on that.
So what does that mean? I don't understand. To travel?
They have an informal relationship, a friendship.
When you said that there's
Okay,
three,
I just want to, is there anybody else on the phone line?
There are no further questions registered at this time, and you may proceed, Ms. Turner.
Okay.
when you said 300 resources, does that mean 300 officers and personnel, or?
No, so the degree of collaboration on this investigation was quite extensive. So when you heard the comments regarding our appreciation to our partners, that 300 includes all those partner agencies in collaboration with us throughout the course of the investigation.
So you dealt with 300 agencies?
No, we dealt with the agencies that we acknowledged,
Right.
CBSA, OPP, Kingston Police, Canadian Security Intelligence Service, and FinTrack. And we relied on assignments from those organizations to help us with our resourcing throughout the investigation.
So, I'm sorry, I'm just not clear. Does that mean 300 people from all the?
That's correct.
agencies? Okay, that's correct.
And I think, and the RCMP pulled from our other resources from across the country as well,
Okay.
with the other federal resources.
Can you speak to any other items or objects that were seized from the homes?
No, I cannot, unfortunately.
What was the motivation?
I can't speak to the motivation.
Were these individuals arrested together or separate?
I can't speak to the actual nature of the arrest
I'm
circumstances.
sorry, what agency are you with?
I'm Frederic, I'm with RCMP Canada
Okay.
also. And, okay, so then my follow-up question to that. There's two homes, so they were both living, those are their residences. Can you explain where you found the explosive materials or the links? Both homes, only one?
Unfortunately, I can't get into the details of where specific items were located.
So what does it mean when you charge somebody of attempting to do something they didn't do or obviously didn't succeed doing? Can you fully charge that person for trying to convince someone to do a terrorist act? So maybe talk to us about that second charge there.
So the second charge, which relates to 431 sub 2 of the Criminal Code,
Yeah.
that was to detonate, amongst other elements.
To convince someone to detonate. right?
Not to convince, to counsel, yes, pardon me. There is a counsel involved in that criminal charge, but the disruption occurs before the actual offense takes place. There's sufficient evidence to charge, and that's why you hear the secondary criminal code section referenced, because the act doesn't take place. We disrupt it before the act.
So, just to be clear, was he trying to convince someone to do that, or was he trying to do that?
I can't speak to the specifics of the counseling.
Thank you.
Individual, can you, male or female, age range?
I can't comment on that.
Jamie with City TV. You said there was trace elements found in one of the locations of both. And you found an explosive device. Are you convinced that you found all the explosive devices, or are there some still out there?
No, searches under search warrant authorities we're continuing through the evening and into the early morning hours. We are confident that there is no risk to public safety and there are no trace elements remaining.
So there's no other explosive devices that you may find? Or
There are no other explosive concerns that we have.
When police entered the homes, was there anyone else, who was home at the time? Any other family?
I can't comment on the family members or found-ins that were located when the search warrants were executed. There were parties within the residences, but I can't comment on that.
Is there any chance you can elaborate on how big of a plot this was going to be?
From the initial information, what I can comment on is what it was a substantiated and credible attack plot. However, there was no indication of where that attack was to take place. There was no specific targeting or time associated to it. The disruption occurred when sufficient evidence was gathered to make the arrest.
But big enough that it would have been something significant, obviously.
I can't comment on the what if.
You called it an incredible attack by Megan from CTV. Are these the only two individuals we're looking at as part of this?
The investigation remains ongoing. I can't comment further than that.
Are you looking for more suspects?
I can't comment right now.
Are you done at the scenes where the warrants were executed?
As of the time of my entry into this room, my understanding is the searches are nearing completion. That's the best of my recollection right now.
Can you speak to, I mentioned that I bring this up, it's a little bit unrelated, but on our way here we found a video, someone claiming to be part of ISIS saying they're coming for Canada. We keep talking about no risk to safety, but just for people who are maybe worried right now, is there a risk right now?
There is no public safety risk with regards to this investigative matter. We believe we have extinguished that threat. Although the investigation continues, the threat is extinguished and public safety is of paramount interest and remains intact.
I know this is different, but are you able to speak to this video?
I cannot.
Any more questions?
One more question. The plane that was used, I understand it was a low altitude plane. The RCMP, most likely has planes that are high altitude. Why did the RCMP choose to use a plane that was going to be seen by other people?
We have a number of planes available to us as part of our aviation program. This was just the plane chosen for that given time. Various reasons for that.
Was it just because the stuff that you were possibly looking for you could not possibly see with a high altitude plane? Is that maybe why?
No, that's not correct. It was just a plane. Visibility, cloud cover, altitude, availability, those are all factors for what we choose at the time.
All right, are there any more questions on the phone line?
Thank you. Once again, please press star 1 on your telephone keypad if you have a question. N'hésitez pas à appuyer sur l'étoile 1 pour toute question. The next question, la question suivante, is from Stuart Bell of Global News. Please proceed.
Could you, I know you were asked about the motive, but I think it would be possible for you to categorize the type of terrorism this is. Far right, far left, Islamist extremist. I mean, how would you categorize the type of terrorism you're dealing with here?
I can't speak to the specific ideology. What I can say is the attack plan, the individual identified and expressed capacity and capability and intent, but to specific ideologies, I can't comment on that.
So a terrorist with no motive?
It was a confirmed attack plan. there is motive, but I'm not prepared to comment on that right now.
Why not?
I think he's answered your question there, Stuart.
No, he hasn't. I mean, why can't you comment on the motive? It's important.
Did he have any communications with any other continent other than, was this a homegrown plan, or was this had communications that involved overseas countries?
So the manufacturer of the device was a homemade improvised explosive device that was being manufactured in Canada, but I can't comment in terms of
Because the burning question
involvement.
is, and he's really, is this a threat that has been born outside of Canada?
I can't comment on that.
But that's what everyone is going to be asking at the dinner table tonight. We want to know if this is a terrorist plot that's been cultivated in another country.
It is terrorism offenses, so I think it's fair to say that it's a terrorism attack plot. The criminal code charge reflects that, but in terms of the individual's ideology, we will let the investigation run its course on that and the evidence that is
We're here in
disclosed from.
Kingston, they live in Kingston, but do you have any idea where that location was that had this credible threat that you believe?
At no time was the city of Kingston ever identified as an attack vector or part of the plot.
Any location?
No, there was no Canadian, there was no specific location, there was no specific date, there was no specific time. The specifics were very much just the attack plot.
No Canadian, could it be American, or just no location whatsoever?
No location whatsoever.
Chris Walla from Kingston News. There were several police forces at the scenes. There were also other agencies, including Frontenac paramedics, and we are aware that there were precautions that were also taken with several other health agencies, particularly the Kingston General Hospital. Can you talk a little bit about what precautions were taken in those incidents?
I believe we might be speaking about different circumstances or events. Unfortunately, I'm not quite aware of what you're referencing.
There were Frontenac paramedics at the scene, both at Kingsdale as well as at Macdonell. So were they there on a precautionary basis? Was there any indication that there might be injuries at the scenes? Can you tell me a little bit?
My apologies, I misunderstood. So on any planned arrest, we would take all precautions for both officer and public safety considerations, as well as the safety considerations of the people that we are arresting or become involved with. So yes, the ambulance would be there for that purpose.
Okay, we're just gonna end. No, we're gonna end the. Thank you very much for coming
Were there any
out.
criminal records where they know
that's
the
it.
police? And why
We're
are
done.
you doing outreach with specific community groups in Kingston right now as a result of this arrest?
We're done. Thank you.
That's ridiculous.